Welcome back to Valley Boys TCG. CK here, bringing you some more Godzilla card game gameplay. We are playing our slightly updated Godzilla -1 red deck on the top, and we are playing a Godzilla blue, I'm going to call it like a blue aggro, blue rush deck on the bottom, something I've been toying around with. I know that red feels like more of the aggro rush deck and blue more of control color, but I'm kind of flipping the script here and playing them in the inverse. So blue, we're going to just rush in here. We are using the starter deck 1984 Godzilla because it is a 6,000 threat, so we want to have more threat power. That's kind of the idea behind the rush, is you want to be big enough threats that they can't counter you, and just kind of win game as fast as possible. So we're just going to go kind of all gas here. We're seeing red just kind of take a slow pace. Blue is already in a good spot. You see that blue has had an invasion 2 for the first step, and now we are going to go ahead and invade 1, kind of creep our way in, and blue has some stuff in hand that we can kind of push in, but it looks like we're not playing a lot of combat monsters in this, or battle cards I should say. We're not playing a lot of battle cards in blue, so typically, or the way I have this blue deck built, is there's a lot of monsters to gain threats, and then of course we're just kind of invading and moving through. I'm not using my monsters to threat yet because I'm not worried about being countered yet anyway, because we can kind of take that counter and go ahead and get our bigger body before we get to zone 6. Now that we're in zone 6 or area 6, we're probably going to start using our rage up a little more. So you see red is doing that. -1 is gonna go ahead and rage up twice. And if you guys are interested in these decks, I do have the decks at the very end of the game, so make sure you stick around to the end of the gameplay to see the 2 decks and what you're working with here. So here you see we are gonna go ahead and rage up and move up, and now we are already threatening invasion next turn with blue. So red is going to be forced to go ahead and counter. So -1 needs to counter, or Godzilla 23 needs to counter. But being in area 8 means they can play all the battle cards they need. So reinforcements comes down first. That's going to give them a combat power of 5,000. We're going to see some rage because -1 does need to have at least 2 rage to activate a lot of the enter effects, or just effects of a lot of their cards. It's just -1 plays off the rage. So here you see the 23 battle card come in, which is going to give them some boost to their zone. Actually, no, this is not the one that gives boost. This is the one that reduces your opponent's rage level if you're at least 2 rage. So that's going to be a good counter here. So it's going to drop the threat level of blue back to 11. And we need to try to find another combat card, and it looks like we're hurting a little, so we just have to pass turn and hope that they don't have the Heat Ray in hand. Heat Ray being probably one of the best cards to come out of the starter decks and set 1 in general, actually. So blue is reset here. We get rid of our rage, we get rid of our strategy cards, and then we see the Godzilla, burning Godzilla's rampage, which is going to basically clear all their combat cards. We target area 3 and then burn everything around it, and we just invade here for the victory. Invasion victory for blue, and that's how quick it happens. So that's, blue deck is, like I said, meant to be all gas, so we're going to see if we can kind of slow them down with red. Now this red isn't a very strong counter deck, so red is going to have to just try to keep up with the pacing and see if we can invade first. So we see invasion 2 to start things off, and then we're going to go ahead and burst to disrupt blue's plays by forcing them. Now there's a lot of debate on, is burst really worth it? A burst 1 here, yes, I would say it's a very strong first turn play because you're reducing blue's, or you're reducing your opponent's hand size by 1, and in card games hand size is pivotal. Plus we get a little extra rage out of it, so free rage and getting to disrupt our opponent's plays. I do like that about red. It's kind of has some hand control, and I think hand control can be very annoying. But the funny thing about hand control is, since you do end of turn kind of refill your hand size, hand control only basically works for a turn. So that's something interesting to keep in mind on this card game. Is, yeah, you know, you can have the the strategy card from the red starter deck, which will reduce your opponent's hand size to 2, but then at the end of their turn they'll go back up, so really you're just disrupting them for a turn. So it's not complete hand control, which is, I guess, good and bad depending on what side of it you are on. So here we see red is kind of outpacing blue. We see our -1 already getting to zone 6, and funnily enough, the blue is playing an Orga package here to go ahead and get some monsters or some battle cards into, oh no, monsters, yes. So the strategy here is to get monsters into the trash, because we do have a few cards that activate as long as you have more monsters in the trash. So we're using that to both rage up and use Orga to get more stuff in the trash. Like I said, we don't need to discard for rage so much, or we don't need to increase our rage that much this turn. But Orga's great for just hand cycling, draw one, trash one. It's just a good ability. And then I think it's the Orga 2 that gets the plus, depending if you have, I think, 5 monsters in trash is the minimum. So we see red is just going to rage and try to go for the quick victory. They're going to go ahead and push forward. They're setting up their zone 8 battle card to prevent the invasion. And we are seeing the big battle cards already come up. We have a combat level of 1300 now that we have some good starter deck. And okay, we got Mecha Godzilla from the booster set. Sorry, I'm blanking out here. So booster set, and we're gonna go ahead and get our first counter there, forcing blue to go into their level 2 monster. And red is kind of pre-set up for the invasion victory here. They're at zone 7. If they have a way to destroy, they could invade 2 and kind of call game here, get the quick victory, which is kind of what you want to do against this deck, because again, this is just a run it deck. But here we have what I would say is the other best card to come out of set 1, and that is Oxygen Destroyer. Oxygen Destroyer is so good in this blue deck because, like I said, we're not going for counter. We don't have a lot of counter power here. We don't have a lot of battle cards, so our main thing is going to be disrupting them with Oxygen Destroyer. If they are going to try to outpace us, or if our opponent is trying to out aggro us and beat us to the invasion, Oxygen Destroyer is going to come in and help buy us that extra turn, buy us that extra time. And now we have to just increase our threat level, make sure we're big enough so that they can't counter us again, and then just kind of, again, set up for that victory. Blue's big thing is you want that Godzilla's, or Burning Godzilla's Rampage from Area 7. So I think almost all blue invasion is probably going to come down to that. Get to Area 7, play your big blue, blow up their board, and then invade 2 to get the victory. And that's kind of what we're aiming for here. We're pretty big, threat level of 20. Their combat is going to be reduced down to, right now it's currently at 7k because the rage is reset. So now that it's on red side, the rage is reset, and they have to also get back to zone 6, I believe, to activate the power-ups for certain things. So we're going to see another Godzilla enter, just so that we can get some more disruption going on. Free rage, and we force our opponent to discard a card, but we play the Godzilla vs. Biollante in the blue, which is so good in this matchup. As you see, forcing blue to discard, we discard that Biollante. If our opponent forces us to discard this card from hand, we gain 2 rage, therefore countering their kind of disruption and getting us bigger to nearly guarantee our victory. Got City of Tokyo coming down, so we've got some big combat level from red, but because of that burst and, you know, getting our Godzilla 99 the extra 2 rage, it allows us to survive the turn and not have to worry about the counter. But now we're going to have to make sure we get ourselves large enough for the victory, because again, we are back to 15 and they currently have a 20 on board. Resetting side on blue, and I think the play here is just going to be play a bunch of rage cards. Oh, that's also a great card to have. Godzilla vs. Destroyer. We're going to destroy everything in zones 1 through 5 on our opponent's side. I think we do double check that it is everything and not a certain level or lower, but no, it is everything on zones 1 through 5, areas 1 through 5. I should say area, I keep wanting to say zone. So that will reset their combat side and be a little less threatening. We will have another Orga come down just to kind of set some stuff up. Just to have some monsters. We're going to invade one, we don't need to, and then we're going to go ahead and use the ability of this Godzilla 99, so when it invades, we can discard another monster card from hand, has to be a monster card, to destroy one of our opponent's rank 5 or lower. So that will clear area 8 for us. So as long as they don't play another card into area 8, we should be good. And we did clear a lot of battle cards from red, so we're sitting in a good position, hoping that red doesn't have another battle card to play. And we are here threatening again. Now, like I said, we did red kind of exhausted their hand early, and we were able to clear their board. So they're going to be forced here to try to set something up. They won't be able to counter us that easily. Even though we did not rage, we should have raged just to get our threat level higher. But they're going to be forced to discard 2 monsters to get their rage up to level 2, so that way they can unlock the abilities of a lot of their cards. We're going to see Invade 1 coming down. So they're creeping up. They can play a few more strategy cards. But it looks like they are hurting for battle cards. Operation Watatsumi, that's the one we were talking about earlier, that will force them to discard. They discard a bunch, 3 cards from hand, but it doesn't matter. I think that basically signals the victory for blue, because there's nothing to set up. Oh, but Godzilla Emerges comes down. That's why we need to get our rage up. Godzilla Emerges will allow us to get a battle card from the deck, as long as it's called Godzilla 2023. So we can pull just about anything down, and this will help us set something up into Zone 8, and just hope that they don't have the Heat Ray. And I have or will be putting up a short just to highlight that I, again, want to reiterate, I think the 2 best cards to come out of set 1 is going to be Heat Ray from the starter deck and Oxygen Destroyer from the booster packs. I think they're both the best cards. You need to have a set of them because 1, they're white, so they can go in any deck that you have, and 2, they're just that good. I think they're the best cards to come out. I could be wrong, everybody's after Destroya. Destroya's great for the blue Evo deck, and our opponent does move up at the end, destroying their own monster they put into 8, so we just Oxygen Destroyer, put them out of the way, and again, blue for the quick victory. And if you want to take a look at the decks, here they are. Here is the red -1. There's probably a better way to just build it. That's just how I have it, and this is how I am building blue for now. Hope you guys enjoyed the gameplay. Hope you guys come back next time.